their cameras, and it was one of the first things that they had filmed. So they were having some technical difficulties that day, and everybody was a little bit irritated because things weren't going the way they wanted, and they have a very large crew. Barbara herself has more than one personal assistant, too, that were dedicated personal assistants. And then, of course, there's the makeup person, and she has her own makeup person, and then there's one for other people. And they also have all the camera people and the lighting people.
Wow.
So it was a very large affair, and they flew us to Arizona because they were filming Alcor. They flew us from Austin to go out there. But, you know, the most I got into conversation would have been with the makeup artist, probably because she was doing my hair and makeup, and it took a little while. But it was very interesting. She was someone that I believe she was a smoker, because she did take breaks for that. And she was talking about how she was trying to quit smoking and she wanted to be more healthy. And she was asking questions about cryonics.
Really?
And it was very interesting because she, you know, they were, you know, she was asking me why I signed up and, you know, what were the kids doing it. So it was fun. It was just like a regular sort of chat.
Like when you would go maybe to the beauty salon, right? And just kind of chit-chatting like that? Okay, okay.
Yeah, and I probably talked with her more than anyone else that would have been on the staff.
Oh, okay.
You know, of the ABC. And before the actual interview with Barbara, she does chat with you a little bit to just break the ice, I guess, so you're not nervous.
Right.
And, you know, that was fun, too. She does think that chronics is a little bit weird or out there.
Did she tell you that? I mean, she just said, I think chronics is kind of odd. Did she say that?
But I had told her that before, you know, when I was in Austin and I'd gotten my hair done, and there was, you know, as a woman that was from India that knew who she was. I said I had a friend from Mexico that knew who she was, and I said that, you know, you're very famous globally, and I said that if she signed up for chronics and it worked, maybe someday she could be famous intergalactically, and she laughed at that. She, of course, it's just a, you know, cheesy joke, and she's like, but she said something to the effect of, oh, yeah, that it was out there and it wasn't really for her. So I was a little disappointed that she didn't, yeah, she wasn't interested in it, but many people have, you know, that response.
Sure. I think a lot of people, they have to kind of get the thought in their head when they're young in order to pursue cryonics. I think it's a little more difficult. I mean, I don't know all the people who are signed up, obviously, but you know, I can see how it seems that sometimes when you get a little older in age, you get set in your ways, and you tend to say things like, you know, it's just not quite for me, right?
Oh yeah, it's interesting that you have brought up that perspective. I was having dinner last night with Dr. Mercer, who was a guest previously. He had spoken about religion at Alcor, and he has an upcoming book about transhumanism and religion, and he's going to be speaking at a conference, a religious conference about that. And we were having dinner, some groups of our local Austin Intelligentsia group, and Max and Natasha Vitamore were there. And it was, we were, had actually touched upon that same subject because Dr. Mercer was saying his years of being a psychotherapist and working, he did that for a decade and working with people and looking at how children create a schema, a viewpoint of the world that they hold with them as they grow up and how that affects them as adults. So it's very interesting. I think some people get this idea when they're younger that cryonics, well, like my daughter said on the program, that, well, it has a chance of working. And so, you know, my own children just have this idea, well, it might work, so to them it's common sense. But they're not old enough. Sometimes when an adult is presented with it, they will just discount it offhand. So, it's very interesting to look at all those issues and why some people get into transhumanism or really support the whole field of life extension. and why some people don't.
Yeah, I know that is a mystery. And that's what you know. I mean, myself being involved with the Immortality Institute and life extension advocacy, of course, as well. It is tough. It seems there's a barrier. It's tough to break through. But I think with programs like Living to Be 150, reaching a very wide audience. I'm not sure I didn't check what the ratings were for that program, but you know, obviously it probably reached 1 million people, is what I'm guessing, and then over the internet as well. But with programs like that, I would tend to think that we would kind of break through that barrier where we're going to kind of get into a wider audience eventually. Have you heard anything else from other people who were in? I know you've been in contact at times with other people who were in that special, and you know some of them personally. Did you hear any feedback from them as well? Like, hey, people are talking to me now. They're saying, hey, what a great program. Anything like that?
Oh yeah. Well, Paul and Meredith, of course, were interviewed
Now
for
they're
two.
they're caloric restriction people. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and I've been yeah talking with them a lot more recently about the release of their new book. I'm going to be doing some promotion for that. So they sent me an advanced copy of Living the CR Way, and I really loved how it puts in some of the modern, information about, fasting and intermittent fasting, and also about some, updates on caloric restriction. And the same nutritional advice is there, but it really presents it in sort of an easier way. Now, unfortunately, they had not had this book completed or actually started on the book the 2 years ago when the Barbara Walter special was filmed.
Is that
so
how?
They weren't able to really talk about their upcoming book.
Well, is that how long ago that the it was filmed? I thought it was like 1 year, but you're saying it was 2 years. A lot of this was filmed. No
Yes,
kidding.
it was filmed at the end, or we were filmed for it at the end of April in '06.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, that is. Oh, I guess yeah, that is 2 years. Wow, it's amazing how long that they can sit with something in the can like that, waiting for it to come out. I mean, especially with the pace of scientific progress nowadays. They could have been outdated in some of their information that they had on the program in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Well, and it was nice that they did focus on Dr. Lanza and some of the the stem cell work, and there have been some advancements in that field, but they didn't go really greatly into depth on many of the topics. And so overall, I got the idea that the whole thing was like sort of a positive commercial, sort of, for the whole movement.
It did kind of seem that way. And for people who weren't able to see this program, we're talking about Living to Be 150, a Barbara Walters special that was on Tuesday evening, this past Tuesday. In the Immense forums, there are links to each segment of that program. So people tuning in tonight, you can go to the Immortality Institute forums and watch that program. Maybe I'll put it. Maybe someone who's listening or in the audience, maybe you can put up a link for people to see and watch some of the program later. There were several segments. I haven't seen all of them. But I know that they did cryonics, they did caloric restriction, they did stem cells, they did people over 100 who are very active. There were like a couple more, weren't there, Shannon?
Oh, well, Ray Kurzweil was on.
Oh, Kurzweil.
And Dr. Terry Grossman. So that was nice. And of course with, Aubrey at the very beginning. And then they had Paul Newman. And then they had some very active and healthy, older people that are
like
100
people
or 101. Yeah.
Yeah, over 100, right? A couple of the people, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when talking to people that were doing the filming, they were actually doing a research into going to places like Russia to look into some of the people who are very long-lived and have what are considered possibly the longevity genes. And so I know that they were considering many other things that didn't even make it into the final product. But it was a lot of fun, and I know that the CR Society, Calorie Restriction Society, has been very happy with the feedback and the interest that they've been getting. And on my own end,